Today has been a pretty interesting day for the crypto market. One of the most important things that happened by far is that Trump had signed officially a bill ending the US government shutdown. It's a new record at 43 days before it was over, but yeah, this has been officially signed into law right now. If you want the stats, 5 million airline passengers delayed or canceled. It's kind of funny how that is the most interesting statistic of them all, the fact that airline passengers were delayed. $619 billion in new federal debt. I'd say that that's supposed to be number one, but hey, what do I know? Federal statistics system permanently damaged. October jobs and inflation data may never be released. Well, if we're talking about that, apparently the White House announced that the October jobs report would be released without an unemployment rate, which is kind of crazy to me. I mean, if you've got the numbers, why not just give the rate, right? So Rohan here said, jobs report without an unemployment rate is crazy. That's like posting a selfie without posting your face. And the 𝗕𝗂𝘀 letter responded saying the cordless extension cord has arrived. Now, as we already kind of could have guessed from the fact that it was a 43 days of shutdown, we also now have 43 days of economic data currently being delayed and 750,000 federal workers furloughed. The current funding bill only reopens the government through January 30th, around 2 awaits. Yeah, this is quite an interesting one. Now, having said that, market concentration keeps on rising. I actually wanted to talk about the cryptocurrency prices right now because as it currently stands, we're quite volatile. Bitcoin just dropped below $100,000. Ethereum just went to 3270 or something along those lines. XRP just went to 235. And as you can see, if I refresh it right now, still XRP sitting at 235, maybe up slightly over the past few minutes. Nope, it has not. Still about 236 or so. But I want to reiterate again that if you continued on buying those dips throughout longer periods of time, for example, the monthly here, it's kind of obvious that here you could have gotten yourself a pretty solid chance just about a week ago or so at $2.16 in XRP. We're still 10% above that dip that we saw quite recently. And if you take a look at throughout the year, again, realistically speaking here, even though it's been down for, a little bit of time here, actually about almost half a year of down, XRP really still is kind of like a stable coin, and it's still up 230% throughout the year. Because ever since that initial pump that we saw in, let's call it, October or so of last season, remember that we saw that whole 50 cent to $2.50 or so move, or actually $3.40 move, in just a span of like 2 months, a freaking snap. Here again, I want to say for cryptocurrencies, things can really change and happen quite quickly. Sure, these days are not nice to look at, right? Bitcoin below 100K, Ethereum below 3250. It's not nice, especially because it's going down fast. But really, the market is in a strange point. Market concentration keeps on rising. And by the way, if you guys have not done it yet, make sure you go ahead and press that like button, because why not? You've got nothing to lose. The S&P 100 to S&P 500 ratio is now at 0.50. The highest in 22 years. This measures how the largest 100 companies in the S&P 500 are performing relative to the entire index. Over the past 3 years, the S&P 100 has risen 109%, while the S&P 500 gained only a merely 83%. This now mirrors the rally seen during the 1990s when the metric rose plus 0.10 points to a near record of 0.55. That's pretty crazy. To match the 2000 peak, the top 100 stocks would have to continue to outperform at this pace for yet another year. Market concentration, as it currently looks, is reaching historically high levels. And there's two more things I want to add up. One, what I just talked about in that list, right, of things that have happened, the $619 billion of debt added. Do you understand that that was about $15 billion worth of debt added every single day? Some are stating that the only way the U.S. government can fix this debt issue is through cryptocurrencies. I just want to quickly put that out there. That's a theory that makes more and more sense when you just start realizing the amount of money that these guys spend. It is just ridiculous. How do you lose $15 billion a day on shutdown? Now, at the same time, these assets that we often say are safe havens or are being bought when things are uncertain, like silver, gold. Well, silver here is quietly up 11% throughout the past 5 days, even as the government shutdown is about to come to an end. If the $2,000 stimulus checks from Trump actually going to happen, momentum is going to accelerate quickly. Gold and silver always know first, because indeed, like I said before, cryptocurrencies usually reflect gold and silver, while afterwards, I still am going to say the fact that these assets like gold and silver are going up so much, they might be onto something. I will keep saying it time and time again. Those prices can't go up this much without, I'm going to call it, governments also buying in or believing the reason the prices are going up for. Because remember, if there was no real good reason for gold or silver to go up, governments would probably be selling a bunch of it because they knew it would be mispriced. But they're not, because they probably also know there's a very good reason for gold and silver to be bought here. One more thing I want to add. I keep adding things, but Bitcoin Archive made a post saying, like, if you're not selling your Bitcoin below 100,000. From a certain angle, I do find it quite interesting to be able to purchase these currencies again at prices that a lot of people said we would never hit again, or basically at a discount from where I think they should be trading at. Let me just say it like this. Even though in the short term, you really may not be loving life, it may not be fun looking at your crypto coins, just realize that most likely within a few years from now, we'll be laughing at how cheap Bitcoin below $100,000 was. And a lot of people out there will be wishing they could still buy below 100,000, just like how I still wish I could have bought Bitcoin below $10,000 like I was doing for so many years before, or even below, for example, $1,000 like you could have gotten the chance for a few years back. Now, another little piece of trouble in paradise that I think was quite interesting, two parts. One, we all know 𝗓𝗄𝗧𝗧, right? The guy behind the Big Short. His fund is closing down, at least one of them is. There's been a lot of action, a lot of posts about that. But there's also been a lot of action and people stating that this is 𝗓𝗄𝗧𝗧's second Big Short, where he's going $1 billion short against Palantir. But apparently, it's actually only $9 million, not actually 900 million, as was expected, like Barry here just decided to quote upon. And so the whole idea of, oh, the Big Short 2, and oh, this guy's $1 billion in the drain for this, he's going to really, was apparently a whole CNBC segment, a whole partial movie kind of made of just relative, but hey, just a $9 million trade. $9 million is a lot, sure, but it's significantly different from its counterpart of nearly 900 million. That was just an interesting piece of news. But what is more interesting, if we're talking about real crypto news, like the way I love to see it, it's what gives you conviction. What gives me the ease of holding through. When I look at a market like this crappy, and it makes me want to vomit all over the floor profusely, because I don't like to see the red, especially not on the hourly, especially not a number that starts with anything else than something green, basically, on the hourly at least, right? Minus 3% in an hour on Solana. I hate seeing that. Every bone in my body despises looking at it. But then my counter would be posts like this. Luxembourg finance minister just said he is confident other countries will follow them and buy Bitcoin. As Michael Saylor says, there is no second best. And apparently, Luxembourg already converted 1% of their sovereign wealth fund into Bitcoin. You can now get it you can get it now or after they reach 5, 10, or 50%, which is an interesting statement to make. But my own personal statement here would be, indeed, this, from a government greed perspective, just like with gold, is most likely only going to keep increasing. This is my own personal opinion, not financial advice of any sort. But from that angle, I keep thinking, hey, if they're going to continue to keep buying more and more and more, most likely, right? Shouldn't we just try to follow along with them and just keep on buying our coins regardless of price, focus less on short-term price and more so think about where we're going to be in the next few years? Just like how Michael Saylor is doing it. And people keep saying, yeah, but what is really there the but from a risk-reward perspective? I still think the first trillionaire will either be Elon Musk or Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, following just something really crazy happening in AI / just Elon Musk being Elon Musk, or a crypto person, or something we can't think of just quite yet, right? The first trillionaire is only what? I'm going to say 100% gain away, with Elon Musk being slightly off 100% away from being a trillionaire. But a package could make it happen within the next 3 or so years, right? The Tesla compensation package could make it happen really quite quickly. Something crazy in the market. ChatGPT wasn't a thing 3 years ago. Remember that, guys. So something crazy like that, something disruptive could make it happen within a space of 2-3 years as well. Cryptocurrencies, I keep reminding people, right now, we're at what? A few $1 trillion, 3.3. This could easily, pretty quickly, within a span of a few months, be at $10 trillion, be at $20, $30, $40 trillion. And at some point also, Bitcoin could make the first trillionaire, or at least a whole bunch of trillionaires. And to that point, even the first, I'm going to call it 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗪, the first person with $10 trillion, could, funnily enough, come from this entire sector. And some people just can't see the vision. But I've been covering this when it was Bitcoin below $1,000. XRP below even a cent is, I think, when I made my first video, probably even. Ethereum, not even, I don't know the first time I ever bought Ethereum, but you can see it's in the tens of dollars, for example, for ETH. It's funny how at that point, a lot of people saw that vision. A lot of people never saw it and will never. Same for BNB, right? I've been since Binance and BNB from the start. I don't remember if it was $6 or below $1. I can't remember. Maybe it was 20 bucks, but it's just been so crazy that often people like to say, yeah, it can't, but it won't, but it can't, but it won't. And then it ends up doing it. Just, you know, if you see it from a different angle, which is just think about it from the, okay, it's going down now, but where are we headed in the future perspective, things just become so much easier. And I should quickly add here, if you're looking at your cryptos and thinking, damn, why are they falling on such a good day? Well, they're not alone. NASDAQ 100 loses nearly 2% on the day as U.S. government reopens. It's kind of funny, but you'd expect the government reopening to be extremely positive for everything, right? But thus far, it's not. Your cryptocurrencies, realistically, are so small. Don't think that every single thing is just about cryptos on its own. For the most part, whenever cryptos move, they copy the other indices like the Dow or S&P or NASDAQ. They copy along. And so the reason I like to sometimes start with that or cover that or have it as the basis of the video, you know, there's the stocks and the indices here or the major news rather than just specific crypto pieces is because for the most part, if you're wondering, why are we falling? Why are we moving? Can this be recovered? It's quite a difficult thing to answer because if I always keep saying, well, because stocks are, and then you're going to ask yourself, but why are stocks? Well, I mean, at the end of the day, stocks are volatile, but we know eventually they're going up, right? Then crypto kind of becomes a secondary thing of that, which is, well, we know it's volatile. We know it's a bit more volatile, but mostly one-to-one. Most has a direct one, like I'm going to say almost 0.08 correlation with the S&P, it feels like. It's not fully true, but it kind of feels like that, where almost every single time the S&P goes down, Bitcoin or the cryptocurrencies go down as well. Almost every single time there's a good movement up, Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies move up. It's just not fully correlated when things kind of move sideways, but then again, it kind of feels like almost every single day I cover it, it's almost directly moving the exact same direction, only not so with very heavy moves on the upside, and sometimes not when crypto has specific announcements, which are pretty often still though. But I will state my earlier point, which is kind of funny, which is it kind of feels as if Bitcoin / cryptocurrencies follow gold, but at a delayed pace because people are kind of buying it to hedge against their traditional investments. On the opposite side, the cryptocurrencies kind of follow along with stocks, as we're seeing today. Why is crypto going down? Either for the same reasons the stocks are going down or because stocks are going down directly. Most likely one of those two, right? But then again, gold and silver are doing pretty well. Why are they doing well? Well, as a counter, as a investment piece to counter the normal investments, let's call it. But since Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies kind of follow along with that, I keep saying if I'm looking from any risk reward ratio scale, these cryptos just make so much sense to me because they live kind of on the edge of best of both worlds. That's why I keep buying them. That's why I keep so close to them. Sure, the short term may be awful to look at. You may not be loving it, but I keep reiterating. I personally think if you just keep buying that dip, you're not such a wuss, you end up being in a very, very good position. But again, I'm not 100% sure. This is just my investment thesis. It's what I keep doing every single day. My bots are doing it automatically for me. You can see a couple of those linked down below on Payonix. And of course, I always got my trades open and I keep adding whenever things are in nice opportunities. Like right now, bought some more ETH, bought some more XP, buying some more everything. I've got some juicy positions still open though. Fun fact, this just now has gone from plus, I think 25K to minus $30,000 over the span of just a few hours. But funny, if you'd bought the dip just the last, I'm going to say earlier this morning, right? Depending on what time zone you're in. Just not even a day ago, you could have actually still been in profit, which reiterates my earlier point of if you're buying this dip right now, you're getting yourself a what? About a 7% discount from the highs of earlier today. If you start buying the dip from here on forward, like right now, 237, let's call it, and start buying your way down with some bigger gaps, don't try to buy every single concentrated part here at this 1 or 2 cent range. I think things will work out pretty well for you over a long period of time. You know, because again, it's a pretty good discount from earlier that day. Risk reward wise, looks pretty nice. But yeah, those are my thoughts. That's about it for this crypto update. Make sure you press that like button. See you guys again in another crypto video somewhere, probably later today or tomorrow. Let's see.